Okay, welcome back. I have been asked to use the microphone because apparently they are recording the session, so when you speak we will also give around the microphone so that it's recorded and other people can look at it afterwards. So just as a, I hope you're all well rested? Refreshed? Okay, so in the morning, we looked at the context, the Anthropocene context, which tells us why we need RRI and why RRI is complexity-based, common good-oriented, and co-created. To respond to the complex issues of today, we have to embrace complexity, which means not just specialism, but many, many perspectives, which means co-creation. So now, this afternoon, we're just going to look into how it can be done, how it's already, now this morning we had it more theoretical and abstract and the why, but now how does it happen? And I asked you, I hope everybody got the assignment to just look at the pictures, and if this is one connected story, what would be the storyline? And I will just ask you to maybe put it down on a post-it, your title or your storyline. Flashy title, sexy title. What connects the pictures? Just put it on a post-it so that afterwards we can harvest them. There's post-its on every table, I think. Big fat title. One word. Okay. I will start here. So we'll just give the microphone around and share your title with everybody. Shall I start? Yeah, start.
Okay, so my title is Hasty Conclusions.
Does that microphone work?
Yeah. Sorry.
Say it again.
Hasty Conclusions. Hasty Conclusions.
Hasty conclusions? Yeah. Okay.
My title is Zoom Out.
Zoom out, okay.
My title is Big Travel Around the World.
Okay.
And my title is Hidden Life.
Hidden life.
I just thought about Inception, so I think it's Inception, like something inside something, no? Kind of.
Inside something. Okay. And something else.
My title is Perspective Trip.
Perspective?
Trip.
Treatment?
Trip.
Dream.
Trip.
Can you speak in the mic?
Trip.
Trip, okay. Trip, it's Italian. Okay, can you please take the microphone?
Beyond reality.
Beyond reality, okay.
Mine is Pale Blue Dot because of Carl Sagan's Cosmos, if you remember at the end of the movie. Because of the last
Just
picture.
say the title, don't explain.
Yeah, okay.
This is my title.
Pale Blue Dot.
Okay.
What is this? Shaban, quando arriva il tuo turno. I didn't hear the title.
Pale Blue Dot.
Pale blue dot. You probably have to look at the last but one picture to the pale blue dot is what the people who traveled to the moon saw.
Perspectives.
Perspectives.
You copy me, I also have that.
Okay, perspectives, the winning title.
Yep. Okay, I have two. Point of view is one and in or out is two.
In or out, okay.
Recursive concepts.
Recursive concept?
Life game illusion.
Life game illusion? Okay.
The endless human story.
Okay.
The reality of distances.
Okay, very good one. We've been around, right? I don't think she wants to answer. So the next question would be, if you have to take one picture that represents your discipline, the one that you're doing research in or what you're studying, which one would it be? You know, is it the boat? Is it the child? Is it the rooster? Is it the moon? Is it the pale blue dot? Just one. Whatever. It doesn't matter so much. Don't. I mean, they're all so rich that you can probably, find one that immediately speaks to you. Like, oh yeah, that's me. Okay. Okay, let's just pick one quickly. I mean, yeah, you can philosophize for a whole day on which it is, but let's not do that. Sorry, I should take my computer away there. So if I ask you, okay, I'll just give everybody the time to look. Watch out. Steermanship here. Okay, the last question would be like, you have chosen your discipline. You know, this is where I'm working. You know, this is where the discipline that I'm working in. In how far or how much does your discipline allow you to take into account the title of the entire storyline that you have identified, from 0 to 5, not at all to completely all of the time? Where would it be? Who says 0? Who says 1? Who says 2? Who says 3? 4? 1 is almost nothing. And says like, in number 5, in my discipline, when I work on the middle part, I take into account the entire storyline of embeddedness, the pale blue dot. Okay. Who says in my discipline, I am aware, we are aware all the time of the connection between all the stories, between all the pictures? In general, in your discipline. You are not aware of, okay, I'll just have the microphone around.
Okay.
Can we listen up to each other, please? Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. The picture that I chose corresponds to this to the heading that I gave, but from this picture I'm not aware of any of the rest. No.
Okay. So are there people who say, in my discipline we are constantly aware of we're here, but we're connected from the very small to the very big? Anybody raise your hand? No. Okay, yeah, okay. So I think the very good thing is that what this, you know, everybody recognizes the storyline, that everything is embedded into something, that human life is from the very small to the very big. We all know that. We know that everything is connected, everything is interdependent, everything is part of a bigger story as you zoom out. But if you look at the disciplines, it's isolating the things. It's not taking into account what we know. Like, I will do economics, I'm doing tourism, how can I make money with tourism? But I'm not aware of the pale blue dot in the universe or the animals. So that is, again, you know, in what I showed you, we all know that everything is connected, but the research system is limiting our capacity to take that into account. So how can we now reconnect with that bigger story? And why is it difficult to do that? I'm going to give you a next little challenge, but there's probably people who already know it. If you know it, just keep silence and let the others do it, okay? Let me see. The technology here. No. Who knows the 9-dot puzzle? You raise your hand if you know it. Okay. Yeah, just stay out of this game. Okay. This is the challenge. You take one of the little yellow posters or whatever. You make the 9 dots, and then I give you 1 minute. You connect the 9 dots with 4 lines without lifting your pen from the paper. If you know it, then don't do it, okay? Don't spoil it for the others. Try it. Ah. Thank you for mentioning it.
4 lines. And without lifting your face.
I forgot it's visible. Yeah, I mean this is so small. I don't really have a table to work on. Okay. Time is up. Did you find it? Okay. Why is it so difficult? Here we go. Why is it so difficult? Yeah.
Because you have to think outside the pattern.
You have to speak up.
Yeah, because you have to think of the bigger picture, like think of outside of the pattern, because this is what I didn't do.
Okay, so where's the aha? There's the aha. Why did you not find it? Why did you not find it?
Because I'm...
Say it.
You know, I think I've done it and I forgot it. That's why. That's definitely out of the box thinking.
Okay, because you thought you had to remain within the 9 lines.
And no matter how many times I've taken trainings about thinking out of the box, I still didn't get it. It's the settling, it's the summer school. You still think formally within the lines.
So it's a very simple solution, but we restrict our own thinking by imposing limits on ourselves, by saying we must remain within the square of the 9 dots. And I didn't say that. You imposed it on yourself. So again, why do we limit our capacity of thinking? Why do we want to stay in the safe space? Okay? It saves time? No, you would have been faster if you looked outside the box.
This mechanism that is made to save time, so it stays in something that is archaic.
Okay, but we want to solve this. We want to solve this puzzle. It's important that we think like, how am I restricting my own thinking? And how can I think literally here outside the box? And where is this, why is this relevant? Because here it was just a 5-minute game. But the same applies if we're going to change the way of defining and organizing science, then the way it has been organized for 2 centuries, it's more than just a square of 9 dots. I mean, there's many more squares that have been institutionalized and that make it very hard to step out of. Here's a little bit of jargon, vocabulary. We're talking about the way science defines itself is called a paradigm. It's the model, it's an agreement within the scientific community of what the rules of science are. And in medieval times, the rules of science, medieval times people were very, very Catholic or Christian or whatever. And they said, they said, everything was created by God. The Bible, the science was just to explain, was the Bible and science, they were, very much connected. The science had to explain what is in the Bible, or the Bible was saying the history and the creation of earth and everything. So they said everything was created by God, God is perfect, therefore the creation also has to be perfect, because God, he wouldn't make something that is only imperfect. So the movement of the planets around the Earth, or first it was the sun, then it was the Earth, has to be a perfect geometrical form, which is the circle. Okay? So that was the assumption. You know, we're assuming because we believe that God is perfect and God's created everything, the planets have to move in a circle. But what we observe then, you say like if Venus or whatever planet moves in a circle, then we would have to observe it there at that time in point, and we see that it's coming a bit later. So what we do is improve the same paradigm, the circular paradigm, by saying, oh, maybe Venus has made a little extra circle somewhere, you know, which explains why it arrives a little bit later at the point where we expected it. So it's called an epicycle. We're improving, we're making progress while staying in the same paradigm, the circle paradigm. And in the end, you know, there was scientific progress, and the experts, they were capable to really very accurately predict the movements of the planets while using epicycles upon epicycles. It was a very good model. But then there were people who were saying, like Copernicus was saying, well, maybe, wait a minute, maybe it was an ellipse. Oh my God, that was against the basic rules of science, because you were implying that God was doing something imperfect, and that was unthinkable. So Copernicus didn't publish it, because he would be excommunicated. And it was, and also what also helped is by the time of Copernicus, you know, they had the telescopes that was invented by some Dutch very smart guy, and they could see the movements, and they could see it was more elliptic than circular, but they couldn't publish it. So it was Galilei who published it, and indeed Galilei has been excommunicated. He was excluded from the scientific community, and then he was I think he was re-established in 1973 or something. Like, he was excommunicated for 300 and something years. But never mind, meanwhile we all agree that it is ellipsis. So now, rather than improving, making progress in the old paradigm, we have moved gradually, but finally, you know, the new paradigm that it is elliptic has now been accepted, and that is now the new standard. Everybody, you know, if you come up and say, I will explain it with epicycles, they will say like, are you sure? You know, we have the new paradigm now, you know, we're talking about. And then we could, you know, we have a lot of, you know, another models of how time moves, and then we have Einstein. I said, like, I have a different hypothesis about time. So something is already coming, but it's not that everybody said, oh, okay, Einstein has a new model of time, let's adopt a new model of time. You know, it takes a long time before we shift from one paradigm to the next, because it's been institutionalized, all the maps or the libraries are full of books like that, the tools are there. And it's not because somebody comes up with a new, more accurate model that all of a sudden it's institutionalized and it's normative. So what we're going to do here now is the same thing. We're not saying that the explanations with the epicycles, they were not false. They were very accurate. But we have something that may be more efficient and more in line with what we observe, to say, instead of linear and it's all, you know, we can calculate how they interfere with each other, we could say, let's start from the nonlinear dynamics as the basic premise. You know, instead of like the ellipse.
I don't think the microphone works and it's hard to listen.
Yeah, well, they asked me to use the microphone. Can we turn that thing off? Could we turn that off? Would that help?
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work? Oh, okay. Oh my God, I have to hold it here. Sorry, thank you for the feedback. So anyway, a same thing. If I speak like that, they can hear it. Yeah, thank you. So here we are again, you know, we're starting from a new basic assumption, which is rather than here's the reality, we can observe it, measure it like a mechanistic thing, and then we can control it and, you know, have it in mathematical formulas. We're going to the paradigm that everything is complex and dynamic and nonlinear, and that we have to understand that nonlinearity and complexity and so align with that, to understand how it works, to make sense of that complexity, will help us to be more wise in taking decisions and in intervening and realigning with life rather than destroying it and manipulating it to pieces. So that is the shift in paradigm that we see today. And so, like I said, I told you, GO-RRI, it's a different ontology. It's not mechanistic. It's complex and dynamic. But it's also, we humans are responsible. We are not the subject outside of reality, and we observe it like something out there, and we can intervene like God, and it will, respond to our needs. No, we are part of that dynamics. We're no air, no humans. No trees, no humans. So that is the new ontology, the new ethics. We are responsible, and so therefore also the new epistemology. So what we observe today, we've had for a long time this belief. The bottom line is the United Nations. The United Nations Human Development Index, United Nations Development Program, they have an index of development, of human development. It's a scale from 1 to 10 on which they can evaluate every country in the world, every nation in the world. So if you're highly developed, you will have 9 or 10 or 8, 9, 10. From 8 on, we call it the good life. If you are below that, you are not so developed, or you're in development. You should follow in our tracks. And development is a combined metrics of education, housing, health, income, things like that. Things that we all say, yeah, sure. I mean, if you have that, you move forward. Now, the vertical axis is the planetary footprint. Do you know what that means? The planetary footprint? If anybody doesn't know, okay. The planet, the map that I showed you, the planet works on the energy, mainly on the energy from the sun, that makes the plants grow, and the plants, they make food and matter and wood, and those are they filter the water. There is a certain capacity for the earth to do that. And if the resources that we use and the pollution that we cause remains within the boundaries of what the planet can absorb and regenerate in 1 year, then we are within the planetary footprint. But if we use twice as much as what the planet can absorb and renew in 1 year time with the solar energy that comes in, we have a planetary footprint of 2 planets. So what you see here, and let it sink in, the red ones are the European countries, is that of all the countries that we call developed, highly developed, not a single one remains within the boundaries of this planet. Not a single one. We are using a concept of development that is inadapted, that is not adapted to the reality of this planet. This is crazy. We're dreaming something. We're dreaming that we can keep growing, and that the planet will keep fulfilling our needs. Sorry, we're crazy. It's not true. Look at the reality. So this is, what we call the anomalies. We had this idea that the planet should appear here. Oh, wait a minute. The planet is not appearing there. It should getting better and better. Human development. We're on the point of collapse. And the countries that remain within the planetary boundary, we call them underdeveloped, in development, and we encourage them, follow our pathway, become like the West, become competitive. We're now at the point where we say, stop, please, we got it wrong. Can we learn from you how to thrive again within the planetary boundaries? Because if we don't, if we would have everybody on our pathway, we'd need 4 planets. We have only 1. Okay? And so this is the United Nations Development Index. It's not some crazy club. I mean, it's high-level politicians and many serious, the World Bank and all these serious people are using these metrics. They are not adapted to the reality of the planet. Here comes responsible. Let's respond again. We are responsible for this collapse. We have, like biodiversity collapse. We have 5 or 6 more years. And if we can't stop it then, humanity might be really, it might be story out before the end of the century. So this is the what we observe now, like we observe that it's not, and what we're trying to do is epicycles. Oh, but if we green the growth a little bit, or if we do circular growth, or grow the energy in a renewable way, then we believe we can still have all the planets follow on us. And the paradigm shift is to really like, maybe we should look at it really radically again. And the nice thing is that this is where how do we land again? How do we define high developed within the planetary boundaries? It's like, remember the map, how do we define well-being? Should we be fixed, our illness is under control within a day, or can we take the time for our body to strengthen and to fight the disease? And that is how we define things, how we define the well-being of life. Do we want to control nature, or can we try to accept that life is a cycle of life, birth and suffering and dying, and that it's important to have a quality of life and dying, things like that. So that is where co-RRI come in. How can we land on Earth again? Those who want to have books, Bruno Latour, Landing on Earth Again. And then the very interesting thing is that more and more, like Copernicus, more and more recent sciences are now discovering that. And I'm not going to go into the technicality because most of you are from the humanities. But I told you, this is the physics. We had Newton and Copernicus, and they discovered all these laws, and we could use that to develop nectologies and the steam engine, and look what we can do with all that. So we have started to look at that as this is the model for nature is a mechanistic thing, and if we can control the DNA and manipulate the DNA, we will have the better life to fulfill our needs. So we're all still in that human-centric, mechanistic worldview, and it's mainly economics is based on that, and education is about how can we prepare the children to become competitive in the economy. It's all very much based on that worldview, that the human can use the planet, and that the more we use the planet and the smarter we use the planet, the better it will be. But since we also impose that knowledge on other people and say like, oh, your knowledge here, in Africa, the people were living in their environment, and they were very smart. They knew what worked and what didn't work, and if you're ill, try that plan or don't do that. And then the Western colonizers came and said like, this is so primitive. We discovered the universal rules of health, and so your knowledge is primitive, backward. You have to adopt our Western. We'll classify all the living beings into categories, and then we can dissect everything, and then so people are like, okay, this is more advanced knowledge, okay. But what we did discover now, we have quantum physics. It's like 100 years old. That this is 1700. We established this mechanistic worldview, and the whole university is built on that. Separate faculties. One faculty, quantum physics, they say like, wait a minute, this is not correct. Subject and object, you cannot divide it. Whether I see a wave or a particle depends on how I look. So me as a subject, I determine whether I see a wave or a particle. So how can you say it really is a particle? No, it depends on how you look at it. So human, subject-object relationship is so interconnected. Everything is energy and dynamics, and part of the energy. If I have no microbes in my gut or air in my gut, I will not live. So where can I say, the air is not part of me? Yeah, sure, the air is part of me. So where is the limit between me, human being, and air, and the biome of the gut and the soil? So they're saying that everything is connected in these dynamic things, and this is more accurate. And many people say like, the indigenous knowledge, this is how we're all part of this one dynamic ecosystem. Humans are part of that, and we're influencing the soils, but the soils also influence us, and the air influences, and the weather, etc., etc. And this is what the indigenous people say. And now there's really high-level scientists who say like, the indigenous worldview is much more accurate to understand these new sciences. We have to overcome 2 centuries of Western science to make everybody understand quantum physics. And the same happens with earth science. This is zooming in on the small. This is the observable, what we see, the chairs and the machines, and this is the directly observable. This is the small, it's not directly observable, but we know it's not some reality out there. It's everywhere. And this is the larger picture. The Earth system is a dynamic process between oceans and trees and soils and air, and together they move, and they produce a certain, what we know as the earth and life. It's not a thing, it's a process. It's a result of very dynamic processes that are irregular. We've had 5 extinctions already where all of life is wiped out. The last one was when the dinosaurs disappeared. And then life comes back again. You know, it's not this linear mechanistic, it's a much bigger dynamic thing. And then we have the astrophysics, where we all understand that the laws that we know here, you know, here, if you have an explosion, bang, after a while it will slow down. What we see over there, we have the explosion, the Big Bang, and it doesn't slow down, it's speeding up. The expansion of the universe is going faster and faster and faster. So that tells us that the laws that we know here, the Newtonian laws, do not apply at the other levels, and everybody accepts that. So if people say, you know, health is holistic, and somebody says, oh, that is, holistic, that is voodoo. No, there's other sciences where they accept that if you look at, how humans are interconnected with, you know, maybe with the stars, I don't know. But we don't know that because we're all assuming that you have to prove it physically and chemically. But this is happening now in scientists, more and more I can give you the books that I really say, like, indigenous knowledge is much more accurate because they have always understood that everything is in the, you can stand in the river and it's just always the same water that comes back and back and back. So that is very interesting now because you have a very strong movement of decolonizing science again. We're all, and it's not, decolonizing is not just we, the West, who have colonized, the countries in the global South or in the majority of the world. It's also that our thinking, remember that, our thinking has been colonized by this, mechanistic, patriarchal, hierarchical model of science. And like Galilei, we might be excommunicated because the authority is there, but it is coming now. It's like, even if Galilei was excommunicated, finally we all accept that, yeah, it's ellipsis. So now it's like, yeah, we all accept, yeah, it's connected, it's holistic, it's interconnected. But the institutions, they are very slow in following. So the question, are we against science? Is this against science? Is this like these, people say like, oh, I don't believe scientists anymore, I think climate change is just a hoax. I take my own truth. What do you think? Is this what I'm saying here? Is this like against science? Fake news? Wait, I'll give you the microphone. I want to know why you say no.
I don't want to say anything.
But you said no.
I said no because you wanted to give me the microphone.
Is this against science?
No, it's not, I think. Because I think science has a vast dimension, so science could be also mediation between all this.
Anybody else? Remember what we said this morning about, with the Anthropocene map? We have the current sciences now that are specialists, but we have now the new sciences that start to understand that everything is interconnected and that we have to rethink science, respond to the big challenges. This is RRI. It is not against science. It is adding a new layer. It's like, the Russian dolls are in each other. We have the ways to understand the small dolls. But now we're seeing that this all is embedded in something bigger, which has different rules. Just like astrophysics has different rules than the physical level. The rules of the explosion in the universe are different from the rules of the explosion in the physical sphere, the observable one. So we're adding this layer of complexity. We're first zooming out, I don't know who said it, zooming out, and then you can understand, oh, wait a minute, that farm with, that rooster is not a real rooster. It's just a toy thing on a picture, then you can see the bigger context. So it's like if you were driving a car. We're driving a car and we see only the dashboard. We have all the metrics. The water level and the speed and the pressure of the tires, but we can't see through the front window. Are we gonna get there safely? Okay. So we need to see through the front window, even if it's a big complex landscape, and by the time you've moved through it, it may have changed because there's might be, you know, children crossing the street or a storm coming up. So it's a dynamic landscape. But we first have to decide where do we want to go and what is the lay of the landscape? What is the route to get there? That's the first ethic. Where do we want to go? What is the kind of society that we want? Okay? And then, once we decided that, if we only see through the front window but we don't have the dashboard, we might run into trouble too, because the oil level might be too low, or we might be going too fast, or whatever. So again, this is the specialist science, and this is the RRI part of it. We're seeing the bigger picture, and we're deciding, we're responding for the common good. Where do we want to go as a human society? And then, as a scientist, we can say, we can add the dashboard. We can have the dashboard to get there. A lot of the time, it's really interesting. If you talk about transdisciplinarity to academic groups, they will just add metrics to the dashboard. You know, oh yeah, multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinary, all the disciplines, and add another discipline. So we have a huge dashboard, but we still don't look out the window. And that is why I stress the is co-created with academics, but also with society. And not just me as an academic and others as society, but also me as a member of society. I am also a citizen. I am also an uncle. I am also a young person. I'm also a woman. I'm also a body. So, you know, all those things are part of that complex that decide this is the kind of world that I want to live in. And as a scientist, I will contribute that metric. I will say we're growing too fast, or we're growing not slow enough, or, you know, we're including people, we're excluding people. So that is, say, that is how the paradigm shift. It's like bifocal glasses also, you know. We know, you know, we have the specialist sciences here, so like, okay, here's the linear part, you know, we can control that. But if you step out of it, it's all interconnected. So we have the dashboard, but we also have to see the blue dot, the play blue dot, and understand that it's not all controllable and mechanistic, it's dynamic. And so what we do is the epistemology is learning to see with two lenses. The one is the specialist one, we need that, it's very good, but it is not the primary one. The primary one is what is what is the landscape like? What is the Earth telling us? How does life on this planet function? And once we understand that, you know, the transcending the disciplines, it's not just all separate pieces that you can take apart and analyze apart. It's also how it's interconnected. How do people live in South Africa, and what makes them happy there, and why are the people, you know, that we call underdeveloped, or do they find themselves underdeveloped? Or, you know, Costa Rica, they seem to be the happiest people in the world, but they don't have that kind, you know. So it's all that. It's connecting with we as humans, as you know, many people said, me as a human, we're all part of this big story. And then as a scientist, we can contribute some part of the story, but we don't have the answers. We don't have the truth. We have pieces of the truth that can be true if we bring them in a larger story that makes sense for everybody. Yeah. I have one question. We need to speak into that, yeah.
Sorry
Please,
for interrupting you.
No, I asked you to...
Sorry for interrupting you. What you're saying is what I think, like, since I started the university 20 years ago, now I'm 40, but when I made my bachelor degree, one of the things that I noted is that my university is not focused on what you are saying. And this is why I left. And I went in the Amazon jungle. I spent there many years. And I said, I don't want to be in the academic life because my university is teaching me how to cheat the world. And this is why I left. How far we are now, 20 years after my bachelor degree, to apply this in university, but really like in reality? Is it hard for you to promote these ideas in the university, like to happen, or we are just talking about something that is still illusion? This is my question. I don't know if you...
Okay, I'm thinking if I'm going to answer it now or if I'll keep it for the end.
Okay.
Because the last half hour, let's discuss all that. The answer is yes and no. I mean, I'm standing here, and it's one of the most prestigious summer schools in Spain, I've heard, that invites me here. So yes, the door is opening. But are we a mainstream course? No, we're not. You know, I think in management and business schools, they're still learning that growth is the only solution to human well-being. And if you ask them how about planetary boundaries, they look at you and they're like, what boundaries? Growth? Oh, we will solve that. Technology will allow, I heard a lady say, technology will allow us to create matter out of nothing. If we deplete the earth, technology will create matter out of nothing. And I said, have you ever heard of the second law of thermodynamics? On this planet, it is not possible. And she said, what law? You know, she was thinking that. She was like, there was a law that forbid her to say that. So they know not. I mean, but that is why, you know, more and more people are starting to say, I'm unhappy with this. And some go away to the Amazon and some stay in here. Like,
and I'm happy to listen to your lecture. Today I was very happy because I said, wow, 20 years ago I was dreaming that I would hear a professor talking about this. So thank you.
Okay, and okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here as well. But so we're gonna just do a little, let's do like a little role play. But I have only 2 students here. Could you maybe join here again? Have a table of 5 again? We're just gonna do a little role play of, you know, I give you a societal challenge and we'll just try it out, and then you'll see how, you know, what you feel and what ideas come up and how it interacts. And then we will do the reflection. You know, how can we embed this or improve this or whatever? Okay? Okay, this is the case. I don't know if you know that. I don't know how it is in your country, but we have a huge problem because of industrial agriculture, of pollution of the soils with, was it nitrates and ammoniac and, you know, animals poo and pee, and it's really pollution. So the Dutch government has now decided, and it's European regulation that by 2030 we want to diminish the nitrogen levels down to whatever it is. You know, I'm not in, and so that means in Holland there's so many big industrial stables that produce so much of this not good stuff that the government has decided that in 10 years time or 5 years time or whatever it is, we have to diminish the number of cows, you know, the amount of cows that we're producing. And so I think the farmers now, oh yeah, this was another one, you know, learning to think like, if we see a sign, road construction again, ahead, if you look at it from the ecocentric perspective, you say, oh, it's ecosystem destruction ahead. You know, there's always the price that we pay for it. So anyway. Oh yeah, here. So what we have now, we have a system. We have the farmers say, look, we produce so much meat and we feed so many people, but ecosystem destruction, you're polluting the soil. So it's always the price that we pay for it. And at a certain time, the price becomes too high, and politicians say, let's reduce that. Let's try to restore the soils, because otherwise we're all in trouble. Even the farmers will be in trouble. So what we see in Holland is that, you know, here again, you know, we're, oh my God, we thought we're doing really good, and look how successful and growth, and wait a minute, no, we're going to collapse. So let's change that. So what you see is the farmers massively took to the street to protest against the environmental regulations from the government. So now I would like you to think, say we have made the shift towards the new system. Instead of hearing, oh, the farmers have taken to the street because they protest against the environmental regulation, what would the farmers do in the future? Here's your little game, your little exercise. Okay, today, what we see today, the farmers are protesting against government regulations to protect nature. You can imagine why. It costs them money, you know. And the farmers say, we do not want to protect nature, we want to continue depleting and spoiling nature. Say, 10 years ahead of time, we have made the transition. What would the position of the farmers be then? Just brainstorm among yourself. 10 years from now, the farmers will go to the street to say, if we have succeeded in the transition, what could it be like? I'm not talking about solution, I'm talking about a new paradigm. The farmers define their relationship with nature in a different way. What are their position? Okay, I think this was just a little exercise, a little brainstorm exercise. I'm going to pass the microphone around and say, you tell me what happens with the farmers if we envision a future. What do the farmers do?
We are not really sure, but I think they're gonna be happier, I guess, but still they're gonna complain, maybe because they have to change all the devices that we have in electronic one. We just thought about that, but it's just maybe they have to change all the devices. So I don't know. For the good of the
So
earth.
the farmers are still protesting because they understand they must change, but they're not happy to change. Okay.
Okay, so maybe farmers will protest for social justice, so so that it's not a matter of privilege whether you could afford to even consider going the sustainable path, but that is the path. So
very good one.
That's my thought.
The farmers want the government to help them to create a more just system.
So we thought about 3 different scenarios. The first one would be positive, and the farmers accept to agree to with the law, and they theoretically live a happy life because it will be better for the kids and for themselves, the new regulations. But on the other side, we think that maybe they don't agree with the law, but they have to do what it says, and they might stop working because it might not be beneficial for them in terms of economics, because maybe they lose more money with this new law in some sense, so they decide to stop working and we don't get any food. And I don't know if you were...
Use the microphone.
Because we were exploring different scenarios according to the support from the government changing. Like if the government supports the change with tools for getting better and make people understand and give economical tools, best scenario. Less support, worse scenario. This was the paradigm.
So the farmers could take to the street and say, if you want us to change, to not stop polluting, you have to give us the tools.
Yes, you have to
and
support.
They would protest for that.
Yes.
We go take to the street. We don't want to destroy nature anymore, and we want you, government, to support us.
Yes.
That looks like a very nice scenario. You guys, do you listen? Here.
Okay, in our scenario, we decided, that the farmers, because they already shifted, they will farm insects that doesn't pollute that much the nature, so they will not protest. They will not have problems with nobody.
Okay. And so the farmers are happy and everybody's happy and nature is in balance again. Fantastic. Yeah, except the insects. That's a good one. Well, I'm reading, you read Indian, First Nations Indian, the insect may be happy to give its life for the cycle of life. We don't know that. Okay. But anyway, this is, for many students, this is a difficult exercise. Whoa, project yourself into an ecocentric universe where the farmers take to the street and say, we refuse to destroy nature any longer. And it's the money system that forces us, because with the current money system, if we don't destroy nature, we go bankrupt and there will be no more food. So we take to the street and demand a new money system or a new economic system. That is where we start, instead of epicycles, we still extract nature, but we will just give you limits and you must No, shift the system. Build a new system where the money is facilitating transactions that are good for the people and good for the planet. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of an excursion here on the money system because I think it's a basic knowledge that almost nobody has. It's a well-kept secret. So now I'm going to... Oh yeah, and oh yeah. Let me think. Who makes money? Who do you think makes the money? Who brings the money into circulation? Can you say, hey, here I have money, I'll bring it into circulation? No.
But money is just an objectification of our social contracts, that I'm working and I'm providing something to you, and then you provide something to me, and to make it easier for us, we've created money. So it's
but who brings it, like the euros, the foreign money, who brings it into circulation?
the central bank, the European Central Bank.
I will write in euro, I'll print a copy of euro and I give it to you and you go to the shop with it?
No, it's the central bank, the European Central Bank.
Central bank, we agree? Okay, wrong. It's the private banks. The private banks have the monopoly of bringing money into circulation. How did they do that? By creating a loan. And a part, you would think that they get the savings money and then they use the same savings money to give a loan to somebody who wants to start a business or something. There is only 10% or 9% of what they bring into circulation is indeed in the central bank. And the central bank is the bank of the banks, sort of like a backup bank. But the real economy depends on the banks. So I want to start a business and I need money. I go to the bank and the bank will say, you have a good diploma, you look like you have a good background, your parents have money, yeah, we trust you. We trust that if we give you a loan, we will get our money back. The risk is low. If you're from a poor family, you're a migrant, you're a single mom, no loan for you, sorry. Because I'm a bank. I want to make money from the product that I sell is money. So that is one thing. They have the monopoly, and yet the central bank is there to sort of like make sure that the inflation is high enough and blah, 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 regulating the banks in the background, but it's not bringing the money in circulation, it's the banks. And the banks do that in the form of debts. They create money. You want to create a business, you want €1 million. I can put €1 million in digits on your bank account. I don't need to have the real euros in banknotes in the vault. I can create it out of thin air. And there is no limit to numbers, so there is no limit to the money I can create. Part one. Part two, of course, you have to pay the money back to the bank. But you are not allowed to create it out of thin air and say like, oh, I got some digits here, can I put them on your account? No, you have to bring in the real money, the euros and the banknotes and the transactions. And where do you get the money? You get the money from your economic transactions with other businesses, with customers, but also with nature. If I can dump my shit in nature rather than pay for the recycling of it, I'm gonna make more money, okay? So it's in your transactions with others, in your business, that you start making money. Now the real hard part is that the banks say, we give you 1 million, you pay the 1 million back in so much time, but with an interest. So I give you 1 million, you pay back 1.1 million. So the 0.1 million, where does that come from? Not created by the banks, because they only gave you 1 million. So what it means is that you have to make sure that from your transactions, you get more out of it. From your transactions with others, you get more out of it than what the banks have brought into circulation. Just imagine we have an island with 10 families. And one family can make, they have goats and they can make goat cheese, and the other ones, they're good at carpenting and they can make furniture, and there's some who make clothes, and there's some who, every family has their talent, and some can make bread or, farm, whatever. And they have this system, they use shells to sort of like keep track of, I bought a loaf of bread from you, so I give you the shells, and you can use the shells to buy a pair of shoes from somebody else. And so we keep track more or less of how we exchange and how the money circulates. And of course we need a loaf of bread every day, but we don't need a new house every day, so the money might accumulate with the bakery and not with, so you know, it's like in a Monopoly game. Let's redistribute the money so that we can start again and make sure everybody has what they need, and the money facilitates that. Then arrives a banker in his little boat, and he said, well, you know, your cells, you know, they may break or you may lose them. I have a better solution here. I have gold coins. Gold does not lose its value. It's unique. You can't falsify it. And every family gets 10 gold coins. Okay? And you can use that for transacting with each other. Oh, wow, posh, yeah, really nice. And the banker says, I will come back in 1 year time, and I want every family to give me back 11 coins. Because I'm taking the risk and I'm offering you my service, so I need to be paid for my services as well. Okay, there's only 100 coins in the island, 10 families. They all have to give back 11 coins. What's going to happen? The only solution is, or one solution would be, if they start fighting, you know, because if all the 9 families can have 11 coins, that will be 99, and 1 family will be bankrupt. That's it. So we'll start fighting each other. I need to make money. I need to make the extra coin. To make money becomes the goal of all our economic transactions because of the design of the money system. The goal of the economy is to make money. That's how you know, can I make money from that? Oh, can I create well-being from that? No, that's not a question. Can I make money from it? Because the banks force us to. You know, I can start doing business on the condition that I can make money with it because the banks need to grow. You know, and that is also because we put our savings on the bank account, and we expect to get more money out of it. So we have this constantly growing money system. And that is okay if it was only that. The problem is that it also structures how we interfere with each other, how we interact with each other and with the planet. And that is why you have poverty. You know, people who are not productive, they cannot join in the economic system, or they will be exploited. You can work for me for $1 per hour, and either you starve or you work for me for $1 an hour. Well, okay, I'll work for $1 an hour. So the people who want $2 an hour, sorry, you're out of business because I found somebody cheaper. So you see how it becomes a real rat race and a real competition because the money system is designed in such, you know, and it's a global money system. You know, it's when in 2008, one bank in America almost went bankrupt, almost the entire world system collapsed. It's like a monoculture of money across the globe. And the poor countries are exploited by the rich countries because we have the economic advantage, and so that is explains a lot of the inequality. We're also, because of that growth, we need to, in the 1970s, we started overshooting the planetary boundaries. You know, the overshoot day, I think it was 1972, you know, we, at the end of the year, we had used just as much as the planet can produce. And of course, the human populations was smaller then. And since then, overshoot day is earlier and earlier and earlier every year, except for the corona year when, you know, everything stopped. And that is normal because we're growing, but the planet is not growing. Second law of thermodynamics, you know, this is constant. There's a certain constant. And solar energy comes in, which can, you know, transform chemical energy into material energy, but it's not, it remains the same. It's a closed system. So because the economy grows and we need to extract or, you know, make money from exploiting the planet, overshoot day will be earlier and earlier every year. It's, you know, this collapse, the money system is a really, really important, and that's why more, I showed you emergence, people are thinking back, wait a minute, we are killing each other for money. How crazy is that? I mean, money should be a means to facilitate transactions that contribute to the well-being of people and planet, rather than money is the goal and people and planet become the means, the resource. You're a human resource and I will exploit you to make money. So we have this means-end reversal, and more people are saying, stop it, we're stepping out of the system. We don't want to be monetized any longer. So we see the money system, you know, people agree that money is an agreement in a community to use something as a means of exchange, a store of value, and a unit of account. In the First World War, in the ditches, what is this? Whatever. In the First World War, the soldiers agreed to use cigarettes as currency, even if they did not smoke. You know, they say like, oh, I need some stamps. You have stamps, I will give you 2 cigarettes. Because they trusted that with the cigarettes, if they wanted cookies from somebody else, they could pay with the cigarettes. Oh, okay, it was interfered. Is that better? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I turned it off. So we see again that people are saying, we will determine the rules of transaction in our community. And part of that is also facilitated now. We have the blockchain technology. We don't need the banks anymore. We can do transactions among ourselves. But it's not blockchain in itself, it's a technology. You can use it for bad or you can use it for good. I mean, people use it for, the bitcoins is just speculative. I can make more money and no control from the banks. The gangsters love it, the mafia loves it. But you also have communities that say, let's use the bank, like the family on the island. Let's use the blockchain to keep track of how we help each other. You've contributed to the community, you get some units on your account, which you can then use to ask help from somebody else. And if you ask help from somebody else, then you allow that person to have credits on their account that they can then use to improve their situation. And that is called community currencies, and you see them blooming all over the world. But it's under the radar and the university will not tell you about it. But it is happening. Communities, we have the technology, we have the social networks, and smart people are saying, let's get rid of the banks. And some banks are being, we want to be at the service of you, like Triodos Bank, We see that shift is maybe too slow, I'm not sure, but it is happening. And that is RRI, that is an innovation. It's research. How can we make the money system at the service of the well-being of people and planet again? And not say, well, given the money system, it's normal that the farmers complain because, well, if they're going to go bankrupt, well, given the planet, let's change the money system. Systems thinking is a lot, what they call it, like the chicken and the egg. What was first? It was an interaction of, beings reproducing, creating new beings, reproducing, and it makes no sense to say that was first. It was first the egg. No, it's this dynamics, this process. So systems thinking is a lot of that, and what we do when we do linear thinking, we say, given the money system, the farmers must earn less, whatever. No, given that we need farmers and we don't want them to go bankrupt, we need to change the money system. So that is, given the planet, given that the farmers are afraid to lose money, we must support the farmers not to go bankrupt. We must change the money system, or we must change the technologies because they're stuck with all the technologies. They have invested so much in all their tractors and all their. We as a society want them to shift to somebody else, to something else. So why don't we bring together the money instead of saying you take the risk? And if you go bankrupt, it's your problem. That is responsible, co-creative research and innovation. What kind of system do we want? The ethical question. And then, what keeps us from getting there? Oh, there's no money for it. Okay. So what do we need to do? Look at the money system. Innovate money. Okay? That is the logic behind. Start with, what is the vision? What is the vision of where we are again in line? We have farmers that contribute to the well-being of the soils and give us food without destroying the soils. That is the vision of the future. And it is a difficult one because we're also, money is money. And we'll only do it if the laws, So that is the difficult, it's envisioning something else. The future is not an extrapolation of the past. So we must be able to envision something else. So it could be like that. And that is where the picture of the butterfly comes in. We have the caterpillar. The caterpillar goes into the cocoon and it gets totally mushed up. And then comes out a caterpillar. And that is a transition. The old system disappears and transforms into something else. And I've just read that the caterpillar has in its body has like the immune system. It has in its body already the beginnings of the wings and the butterfly, and the immune system of the caterpillar will attack those cells because you're going to destroy me as a caterpillar. No, I don't want that. So and it was something that I read like, this is what we're seeing now. The old system has to transform in something new, but it is scary. Oh, I'm a caterpillar. I don't know, I'm gonna mush up and come out as something new. I'm afraid, so I'm gonna protest. And I say no. But if we say, wait a minute, we're in the transformation towards a butterfly. What would the butterfly look like? Wow, we have farmers that feed us and restore nature, but we're gonna have to, as a community, support the farmers, because if we use the capitalist model and let the banks control the farmers, they're not gonna make it on their own. So again, the community, the co-creation. That is the co-RRI. Okay? So let me see. I was thinking we have a half hour left. Yeah, there's maybe one slide that I would like you to maybe, it's a little bit more technical, but it might help. I usually work, when I work with it, really helpful. It's like a little tool. You wanted some tools or some methodologies. This curve is from process ecology. We combine process ecology is one of these new sciences that understand the processes of ecological systems. And it could be natural ecological system, could be technical, biological, different systems. And they have investigated what makes systems, complex ecosystem, dynamic ecosystem, what makes them sustainable. Through time, when the conditions change and there's crisis, some systems sort of like keep going by adapting and adjusting themselves. So they have investigated all these sustainable systems that persist through time, even in contexts that are constantly changing. Landscape pressure, the climate change and the politics change, but some systems keep going. And they found that these systems, this is the sustainability, like they sustain themselves through time, is a function of two opposite characteristics. One characteristic is called resilience, and it is your capacity to adapt, to think outside the box, to do something completely different, to be creative. If I have one system and the system collapses, I have here a reserve of other alternatives that I can immediately switch to. Be resilient, come up with something else. But the other one is ascendancy or efficiency. It's a regime. If we just go in all different directions and all little niches doing different things, the system is going to stagnate. But if we say, okay, let's align ourselves and let's streamline a little bit so that we can, go faster there and achieve more impact, then you will be more sustainable. You will be stronger to resist. You will not have to reinvent again. It's going to stagnate. You're going to lose all your energy in the overhead. But if you're too ascendant, if you lose your resilience, you're going to be like a tanker that is unable to change course. Okay? So, and interestingly, the most sustainable systems show 60% of resilience and 40% of ascendancy. Like, for example, if you have, I have a plantation for wood to make furniture. The most efficient would be, like I say, I will plant oak trees. They all need the same soil and they all need the same treatment, and I put them in straight lines, and I have machines that are, and it's very efficient. But if the market changes and people say, oak, we don't want oak furniture anymore, it's old-fashioned, or there's a disease on the oaks, your whole system will collapse because it's all you have. You're very ascendant, you're a monoculture of oaks, but you have no resilience, so you will collapse. So you will, to move more towards sustainability, you will say, let's diversify. Let's also have chestnut and some other woods, so that if something happens to the oaks, I have alternative pathways that can take over immediately. Okay, so you move to the left. If a crisis happens, if the market changes or a disease, you have different pathways that you can shift towards. But if it becomes a jungle of all sorts of plants that are competing, your company you're gonna be lost trying to find the useful wood, and you're also gonna be bankrupt because you're not efficient enough. So it's finding that. Oops. El panel entrará en modo de espera en fin. Okay. Oh, touch the screen. Woohoo! Magic fingers. Okay, so why is this relevant? this is, and okay, and here is the governance. The governance is saying, okay, we're not being sustainable anymore. The context is changing. We must react. We must be resilient. How can we think outside the box? How can we encourage people to think outside the box? How can we involve the pioneers that are trying to do it differently? We see that capitalism is destroying the planet. Where are the people that are trying out different economic models? You know, we have the donut economy, we have the ecological economy, we have the common good economy. Let's bring them in and see if, and they exist, they're already there, the community currencies are there, but they are marginal. So what do they need to have more impact? So you share the goal. We want an economy that again serves the well-being of people and planet, that facilitates the transactions among people and uses to create the well-being of people in this planet. That is the goal. You find all the people that share your goal. If the people say, yeah, I share your goal, but at the end of the month, what really counts is how much money I can, pay to my shareholders. Sorry, you have a different goal. Your goal is your private profit. Hope you're successful, but we're not gonna. You will keep you informed, but you're not share. You share the goal. We agree on the goal, and that is usually the first, like what we did here. Why are you here? Where do we overlap? What brings us together? We all have this shared dream. We want a future for our kids, a healthy planet. This is what brings us together. The second question is, if we all agree that this is the goal, what keeps us from getting there? If we want farmers that feed the planet and restore the health of the soils, and we all agree on that, and you may have farmers saying, yeah, we want that too, but you have no choice because of they don't think they can do that. They think like, oh, I've invested in the stables and I have to now sell the meat. But wait a minute, you as a human being, you as a parent, would you not also be happier as a farmer if yeah, sure, I never thought of that. So let's look at the farmers who do it differently. Agroecology, community gardening, you have all these alternative methods of farming. Let's bring them around the table. Now, how do you do that? Community-supported agriculture. Oh, I have a community that pre-finances my products. So you bring them together, and then together you will do this exercise and say like, okay, if we agree that this is the goal, how can we make sure that the established institutions can start doing something else? Like, what would it take for universities to accept to bring people, who are not academic into the academia? What could facilitate that? But also the people who are, who are outside of academia saying we're doing something else. What would you need to have more impact on the cell? Well, maybe some legal things are keeping us back because the laws are all made for the big extractive businesses. You should not do more than this. Well, we're doing something totally different, but we have to respond to the same standards. So that is where you start mapping together and co-creating the pathways to something new. So it would have been nice, but I'm looking at time and I also want to have time for discussion. I've done that many, many times, and it always works miracles. You bring people to say, we did the exercise on sustainable finance. So we brought together academics, bankers, business people, and people from NGOs, and we said, what we want is a financial system that facilitates transactions, economic transactions, for the well-being of the people and the planet. And they all say, yeah, that's what we want. Okay, if we agree that that is what we want, then what keeps us from getting there? Why are we stuck with a financial system that motivates us to kill the planet or kill each other? Oh, and then so everybody like, oh, I think it's this. You like what you did with the antibiotics thing. Like, what happened? What happened? Everything we know. And so one of the things that came out was like, education. People don't know about the money system. We're all educated to believe that economic financial growth is good. And so at the end of the day, it was half a day. The universities were around the table and said, like, wait a minute, education, that is us. So they got their heads together, and 1 year later, they launched a sustainable finance masterclass. And they said, we'll not do it for students, we'll do a masterclass for the people who are in power now. European Commission, central bankers, and they launched it, 60 participants, and this was after 4 hours of working on this curve. We share the goal, and then we analyze what keeps us from getting there, And then what can we do? You know, if, maybe we can't change the money system, but we could change the education because we're the education. Or I know a farmer, I could go and talk, or I could bring students together. And then you start seeing the little steps you can take, and that is your first step of co-RRI. And when that exists, it will again impact the system. We're gonna, wait a minute. If they can do that in Complutense, why can't we do it here? You know, you get these dynamics going. So this is we call it mapping innovations on the sustainability curve, MISC. So this is this curve, resilience, alternatives, pioneers, people who take the laboratories, the laboratories that are out there, but also the people that are in the system that want to change, that know that we need to go to somewhere else, and bring them together and say, like, how can we join forces? And then unravel it. It's complex. There's not one, magic solution. But we can take little steps to go there. And I think I'm going already in the direction of your answer. So if you would like to, you could do that. Say we want a sustainable food system. A food system that respects the boundary of the planet and that is good for the health of the people. And I could ask you, if you want to, you can do that. You say, yeah, we would like to do the exercise. You can do it. Or else what we can also do is just have a plenary discussion, Q&A. You choose. Anybody would like to do the exercise just to try it out? Okay? All right. Then you get a sheet of paper. You got a sheet of paper and draw the curve on your paper. One per table. One per table. It's a co-creative work. Don't forget it. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's no bigger papers, but I hope you can do it. Put the flowers on the side. Make an open space in the center. One sheet of Okay, so you're working on one sheet of paper, and you can also use the Post-its. So let's say the aim, the goal, we all agree that we want a food system that fosters the health of all the people while restoring the health of the ecosystem. Would that be a good one? We create food systems that allow all people to have a healthy life, good nourishment, while also restoring the health of the ecosystem. Okay? If you think about the food system now, what keeps us from getting there? What is it, if we agree that this is a good system, what is happening now to get us off track? Just start putting, like you did with the antibiotics case, start putting Post-its or dotting down words. Put it down. What keeps us from doing that now? What is there in the system that makes the food system so destructive, so unhealthy for people, so unjust? What is it? Just make your systems map.